power of a good no makes a great yes even greater. People have a really hard time saying no. I struggle with this just like every other person that you've ever met in the entire world. A lot of times we don't say no when people ask us to do things because we're people pleasing. The problem is that we people please under the mask of empathy. We say that we say yes to things because we feel bad for the person and we understand that they're really busy and that they have a lot on their plates and that they have a really hard time getting everything done. Or whatever, fill in the blank with any kind of phrase, and you can guarantee that you can make people pleasing sound like empathy. The thing is that there's still a pretty clear line in almost every situation between people pleasing and empathy. And again, to just further push that point, empathy is when you find out that your friend's mom was diagnosed with breast cancer and you weep for them. People pleasing, definitely not that. So when we feel bad about saying no because we hide it behind empathy, we end up a lot of times saying yes. So there are so many factors that go into why we say yes, but the biggest one, as I've already said, tends to be people pleasing. We say yes because we don't want them to think badly of us, because we think we're the only person who can do something, or because we think that we just have to do it. But the reality is that we are free human beings and we have our own busy, crazy schedules as well, and we have the right to say no. So when I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to say yes to a situation, there are a few questions that I try to work through and ask myself to figure out, is this a good thing for me, or is this something that I should step away from? The first question that I ask myself is, does doing this task or completing this assignment that somebody's asking of me take time away from my other commitments or needs? So if this is something that's going to make you sleep 6 hours less a night, you probably should say no, especially if you're only getting 6 hours of sleep. Or if this is something that you find you can fit into your day, 30 minutes that you had free in the morning, then maybe it's something to consider. But this is never the question that really is a make or break completely, because if you want to do something or if you don't want to do something, you can find time to make things fit, but it's a great place to start. So the next question that I ask is kind of the one that gets at the heart of the matter, and that is, why would I do this? Would I do it for myself? Would I do it because I'm scared to say no? Would I do it because I feel obligated to? Would I do this because it's something that I find impactful and meaningful and I would like to contribute? Or would I do this because it needs to be done? So many other questions that you can ask, but if you just ask that first question, why would I do this, and then start digging, you'll find pretty quickly that there's an answer to that question. The third question kind of gets at our pride, and that is, am I the only person available and qualified to do this task? For me, I find that a lot of times when people ask questions or ask people to complete tasks for them, it's because they're right there and they're the easiest option, not because they're the only or best option. And I don't mean that to make somebody feel bad about themselves, but it's true. A lot of times people ask you to do things out of convenience, not because you're necessarily the best for the job. And that can both make you feel good about yourself, knowing that maybe the burden isn't as heavy as you think, but it could also make you feel kind of bad when you're like, what? You mean I'm not the best person in the world at everything? What? If the answer to this question is that no, you're not the only available and qualified person, then if you find that everything else kind of doesn't fit in, then perhaps it's a pretty easy no. And then the final question, the one that I find to be most important and that the other answers can completely be thrown to the wayside by this answer alone, is, do I have peace? I'm not talking about if you actually want to or don't want to do something. I'm talking about deep down inside, do you have peace? Is this something that when you hear about the thing that you're being asked to do you feel peace about it, or do you feel anxiety, fear, turmoil? The thing is that sometimes peace feels a lot like anxiety. For instance, last semester I was asked to lead worship at a ski weekend for a youth group. As soon as the question was asked of me, my mind said, yes! And then I was like, oh no. Oh, I'm terrified. That sounds terrifying. Oh my goodness, I could never do that. I'm not that good. That anxiety was not actually that I didn't have peace about saying yes to the situation. The anxiety was my own fear of not being good enough. And there's a very real difference, because when I sat back and I thought about the opportunity, do I want to lead worship at this little weekend ski trip? My answer was yes. I felt great about that. But when I actually sat back and thought deeply about it, that's when the fear set in. Do you feel peace about saying yes or no? And whichever one that is probably the right answer. So after I've gone through all of these questions, I find that most of the time I have an answer. And if I don't have an answer, that's definitely when I start to ask for my friends, my family, just trusted mentors. That's when I start to really lean on them for their advice. I want to share why I'm making this video. Just last week, I was talking on my channel about my summer top 5, and one of the things I said that I was excited for was the freedom that summer offers. And then the very next day, an opportunity came my way to be an intern at a local newspaper. And it would have been a 30-hour-a-week job, and I was going to be there 5 to 6 days a week, and it was a really cool opportunity. Met with the editor and we talked, and it was great, and I was so excited. But then when I got home, I just realized really quickly that I didn't want to do it because it was going to take away from that freedom of summer that I had been so excited about. And over the next day or two, I had to go through the process of discerning between yes or no and realizing that actually it wasn't my best yes. And it wasn't that it wasn't a great opportunity, because it was. It was just that it wasn't the one for me right now. I want to encourage you that when opportunities come your way, it's okay to take a step back and to look through your life and to look through your resources and your knowledge and your information and your heart, and to see if things are really the best opportunities or if maybe that one's not the right one. So yeah, saying no is hard, and we live in a world that encourages us to say yes to everything, but that's not always the best. And I think that finding our best yeses is far more important than finding all of the yeses. That is all that I have for you guys today. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this video helped you. But until the next time I see you, see ya!